Alright, so in the last video we looked at add event listener, and we also took a look at the event object and some of the things that that offers. Now what I want to do is look at certain mouse events. Okay, so we'll look at mouse events in this lecture, and then in the next one we'll look at keyboard and input events. So first thing I want to do here is just create a couple variables that point to selectors. So let's get the clear button. So I'm going to call this variable clear btn and set it to document.query selector, and it has a class of clear dash tasks. All right, another thing I want to grab is the card. Okay, so the card is this entire thing. Okay, everything that's within this border you can see has a class of card, which is right here. So I'm going to say document dot query selector, and we want the class of card. Okay, and then the last thing I want is just this heading right here, this tasks heading, which is an H5. So I'm going to say const, we'll call this heading, we'll set it to document dot query selector, and we'll just grab it by its tag, which is H5. All right, so there's just a couple things I want to do with these different elements. So let's create an event handler. So we're going to create a function, and I'm just going to call this run event. Okay, and this run event is going to just take in the event object, so E, and then I want to just console log. I'll throw some template strings in here, so some backticks, and I'm going to say event, I'll put this in caps, we'll say event type, and then remember we can grab, I'm going to use a variable here, we can grab from the event object the type. Okay, so now I'm going to do a click, which we've already looked at, but I'm going to put it in here anyway. So click btn dot add event listener, and we want to listen for a click, and when that click happens we're going to call run event. Okay, so what do you think is going to happen here? I'm sure that you can figure this out. It's pretty easy. So if I go ahead and click, we're going to get event type and click. All right, so I just want to look at some of the other mouse events. We also have a double click. So let's go ahead and take that clear button, and let's add an event listener. Now for double click, it's going to be dbl click. Okay, and then we'll just call run event and save. So now if we double click, you'll see we get event type double click, and I'm just going to comment these out as we go so that they don't keep adding up here. I just want to see the current event. So the next one is going to be mouse down. So I can actually just copy this. So we'll change this to mouse down and save. And now if I go and I just click and hold, that's what fires off mouse down. All right, click, hold, I haven't let go of the mouse, that is the event, mouse down. All right, and then at the same time we have mouse up, which you can probably guess what it does. It does the exact opposite. So let's comment this out, and let's change this to mouse up and save. And now I'm going to click and hold. Notice that nothing has happened. When I let go, that's when that event fires off. All right, so you have mouse down and mouse up. Another event we have is mouse enter. So let's go ahead and let's paste that in, and let's do mouse enter and save, and you'll see that I'm just going to drag into the button, and there it is, mouse enter. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put this on the card, not the button. So if I go into the card, we get mouse enter. Now we also have mouse leave, which is basically the opposite of that. So let's see, I'm going to paste this in, and we'll say mouse leave. And I'm gonna keep mouse enter active as well. So if we enter, mouse enter, if we go outside of the card, okay, so that's not working. That's because I spelled this wrong. So we go in, mouse enter, we leave the card, we get mouse leave. All right, now in addition to mouse enter and mouse leave, we have two other similar events, which are mouse over and mouse out. So let's go ahead and change this to over and out. All right, so if I go and I just hover over the card, you'll see we get mouse over and mouse enter. If I leave, we get mouse out and mouse leave. So what's the difference between these two? Well, the difference is you'll see that if I go in and then I go over something else, another element inside the card, such as clear tasks, you can see that we got mouse over, and if I leave that, we get mouse out. Okay, mouse over, mouse out, but mouse enter and mouse leave are not firing off. Those only fire off when we go into the main element. However, mouse out and mouse over will fire off when you go into another element that's inside of that element. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So whether it's this button or whether it's this list right here or list item, mouse out, mouse over is going to keep on firing, okay? But mouse leave and mouse enter is only going to fire on the initial parent element. So that's the difference between these. All right, so I'm going to comment those out. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is mouse move. So let's go ahead and say, let's put this on the card as well. So we'll say card.add event listener. Mouse move, and we want to call run event. Okay, so mouse move, if I go in, it's just any movement inside of that element, okay? Anywhere in this card, if I move my mouse, is firing that event off. If I go outside and move, it doesn't matter. It's not going to fire it off. It's just inside that element. All right, and you can use this for some really cool stuff when it comes to games, things that are really, really interactive. So what I want to do here is I'm going to make this heading. I want this to display the coordinates of my mouse. You saw that we could access the e.offset x and offset y, which gives us the coordinates of the mouse inside the element. So as this moves, I want those elements to show up right here. I think it's a cool little exercise. So we're going to take the heading, because up here we define heading as that H5 right here, and then we're going to say dot inner HTML, which just allows us to insert HTML into this element. I'm going to put in some, I'm going to put in our backticks here, and we're going to say, let's put in an H5, and then we'll do, actually I guess we could do text content, since we're just going to keep it as an H5. There's really no sense in doing that. But let's do mouse x, and then we'll put in our variable, which will be e.offset x. All right, and then we'll do mouse y, and we'll set this to e.offset y. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that, and then let's go in and move our mouse around, and you can see that the values are going to output in that H5, which is kind of cool. All right, and like I said, if you're building a game where you're controlling some kind of character with your mouse, this is what you're going to use, so that you know exactly where your character is in the game. All right, another cool thing we could do is we can say document.body. Let's just get the body, and we're going to say .style.background color, and we're going to set that to a set of backticks. Now, in CSS you can change, you can make a color just, you know, a standard color like red or blue, or you can use a hexadecimal value, or you can use an RGB value, which is red, green, blue. And basically that takes 3 parameters. The first is going to be red, second green, third blue, and each one can be a value from 0 to 255. All right, and then you get different variations depending on those numbers. Now, what I want to do is I want to take these two offsets here from the event object and use those as parameters. So for red, we're going to use the X coordinate of the mouse, and then for green, we'll use the Y, and then for blue, we're just going to say 40. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that, and let's go in and start moving this around, and you'll see that the background color just changes color. Alright, which is kind of cool, and I think gives you a good example of the different weird things you can do with this event, with mouse move. So that's going to be it for mouse events. In the next video I want to get into events that have to do with forms and input.